Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and we're just getting into use cases. Had some fantastic ones from Sri. Gil, I'm going to ask you, give us a use case that you'd like to highlight for the audience here that you're working on over there at Department of Veterans Affairs.
Certainly. So there, as you mentioned, there are a number of different use cases.
Sure.
We actually put out a list of some of those that there's interest in engaging with externally. That's on our guidance website under the main page of the VA. Basically, va.gov, www.va.gov/guidance. If people are interested to see that and the VA strategy are there, but there are a number of them. There's, ones, everything from increasing productivity, processing forms through natural language processing to, to highlight one here. There's one around, for the pandemic, which was just mentioned, right? So the pandemic has created really an especially large burden for healthcare professionals to treat the patients rapidly and effectively. And AI can really expedite the clinical decision-making process by aiding in the prediction and also in the training of the different aspects of COVID-19 and really enhance our workforce's capability, whether it be the physicians, nurses, and others that are working with the patients, or operational uses, what resources to make available and where for the different areas across the country. And so in this, in one case, using data across the different medical centers, which are across the country, the VA built an AI tool, and it was work done, with the medical centers and the National Artificial Intelligence Institute to predict both morbidity and mortality. And what the tool does is it identifies and then explains the most important features. We learn that is something that the physicians really need to, and those who are managing, to understand and learn as the pandemic evolves. What are the important characteristics that are important around COVID-19? And so we've been working on that and then seeing how it changes across the pandemic. And so we're currently getting feedback and determine and working to determine, how deployment of this tool could affect patient outcomes and clinicians' overall user experience. And this tool is really just one example of this idea of this AI to go platform, which is taking a look and being able to work and take some of the findings from research and development, from different collaborations, to be able to take AI tools that are developed through such approaches and through mechanisms like the AI tech sprint and similar, to bring them to scale. And so looking forward to other applications, but that's just one to highlight here today. Thanks.
AI to go. It's the first time I've heard that term, and interesting use cases towards the clinicians versus, you always think about the patients, of course. How many employees at VA, just size and scope, roughly?
Right. So the VA is the largest civilian agency, actually, if you look at it. And there are hundreds of thousands of employees at the VA. So depending on the statistics, it can vary, but there are, it's broken into three components. And one of them, where the health is, a Veteran Health Administration, is the largest, and it itself also has hundreds of thousands. The others are Benefits Administration and also the National Cemetery.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that perspective, just a size and scope there. John, how about giving us a use case in regards to Aerospike that you'd like to highlight for the community?
Well, I think an interesting one that we can all relate to is credit card fraud or transactional fraud. And our behavior in the marketplace, the way we use our credit cards or the way we transact business online happens in real time. You go online, you do something. And to put it in perspective relative to the scale today, we have a client who's I can't mention, but they do basically credit card transaction fraud. And when they started out with us about 5 or 6 years ago, the underlying data set was about 12 terabytes. Today, it's 200 terabytes. And in the split second, when they decide, you're at a Starbucks and you're saying, I want to buy a latte, and your card comes back and says, please remove your card. In that moment, in this case, 200 terabytes of data is available for the inference engine to make a decision, a split second decision in less than a second, as to whether the transaction is fraudulent or not. And the interesting thing that surprised even me was that in that window, this particular user of our technology does 250 database reads and writes so that the inference engine can be smarter and make a better decision in that split second. And you can apply that to all of these AI and machine learning cases where you're pushing the decision to the edge and you're dealing with, if you will, machine speed, machine scale to delight your constituency or to support your constituency or to improve the intimacy with your constituency, which we all know and love because in our personal lives, we use technology to talk to people, talk to things, talk to machines, and machine to machine is just as important. So that's an example of the scale that's happening out there in the world.
I think it's a great example. I think we've all can have the case of, I get a deviation and a half away from the norm and using my credit card and bang, they're on the phone saying, hey, is that really you? And much more convenient now to just be able to text back and forth, say, yeah, that's me. Good. Boom. You're off and running. It's fascinating that there's that much transaction going on in that split second. Ramesh, how about over at DIA? I know you've got a lot of use cases. Give us one that you'd like to highlight for our audience.
Absolutely. Yeah. As probably most of you know that we are the foundational military intelligence to warfighters and decision makers. And our goal is to deliver comprehensive understanding of foreign military capabilities, infrastructure, and material in all domains, right? So DIA is developing the MARS program, which is machine-assisted rapid repository system to transform how defense intelligence enterprise and the intelligence community think about access and use foreign military intelligence. The foreign military intelligence transformation allows us to be more effective use of vast amounts of data that we collect based on a scalable data ecosystem. So we're laying the foundation for future requirements. And in fact, last year in December 2021, we deployed the Mars data environment, which allows us to access data residing in a variety of systems and begin testing our machine-to-machine interface that we heard short while back. So we can use incremental process for development. We're using DevSecOps, continuous delivery pipeline, automation into the tools to enhance and support capabilities for analysis development, battle damage assessment, understanding the order of battle, track and analyze out of garrison order of battles, improve users' ability to identify indications, warnings, and emerging threats. So our goal is to keep the country safe, prevent strategic surprises, and we are using technologies, platforms, and tools to achieve that mission.
I really do appreciate everything that you're doing to keep this country safe, by the way. So thank you very much to all the men and women over there at DIA. Nick, how about an example? You always have some fascinating use cases. Can you give us one that you'd like to share?
Sure, Luke. And let me just start by saying, at Pure Storage, our mission is to enable innovators to build a better world with data. And what we do is build capability to enable our customers to get the most advantage from their data at the wholesale level, whatever the application. So artificial intelligence, it's a data application. We make the data service platforms, hardware and software, to enable leveraging data at speed and scale wherever you have it, whether it's on premises or in the cloud. So the ways in which we've seen our platforms employed to support this are actually highly varied, from traditional compute and server environments to obviously modern day supercompute capabilities. Probably the most relevant recent application that we can talk about is infectious disease research at National Health and CDC. Throughout the pandemic, And interestingly, the platforms were initially acquired to support cancer research, which we do a considerable amount with at Memorial Sloan Kettering, Page AI, MD Anderson Cancer Center. But obviously, protein folding is a similar application, whether you're doing it for cancer research or virus replication. So we've been deeply involved in obviously COVID research, not just the virology itself, but also the disease tracking worldwide. And that's been obviously tremendously beneficial over the past couple of years as we seek to understand both the nature of the pandemic and the nature of the disease.
Fascinating use cases there when you talk about, sort of this deep learning, if you will, into the cancer research. And again, want to appreciate everything that everyone is doing in that community to keep us all healthy. Going to walk over to priorities. And John, I'm going to start with you. And we want to talk about priorities for this year. What do you have on the docket? What are you focused on for the next 10 to 12 months?
Well, everyone who has a lot of data and is using it in real time, that's machine speed. As I mentioned, what we're trying to do is blend essentially the combination of high performance online processing, sort of transactional processing, with the ability to capture intelligence from the data. And that tends to be a people scale problem. Maybe there's a large data set, but the access to the information that's changing and then going deeper and deeper from a machine learning standpoint to essentially find actionable intelligence. Most organizations are awash in data, and there's nuggets in there that if you can capture, then you can put them to use in real time. So that's a focus. Basically, I would call it real-time analytics, where you can learn things in a real time against a dynamic data set. And the enabling technology to make that possible is where we're focused.
A lot of focus in that area, and I really do appreciate it. Ramesh, how about at DIA? I know there's a lot of priorities over there. What's the focus for you over the next, say, 10 months or so?
I would say the big one would be modernization of our TSSCI network, JVIX, continuing to move forward with the Mars program, which is very, very important. It's the Department of Defense pathway to achieving data superiority and maintaining decision advantage. And also the big one is making sure I can get the agency AI ready by 2025, which is the director's priority, to make sure we have the foundational capabilities to be AI ready by 2025, aligned to the NCSI report. So I would say it's JVIX, Mars, and AI, and also starting to leverage the hybrid multi-cloud, the C2E contracts, to make sure leverage it appropriately depending on the mission needs.
Super important in that multi-cloud environment, sort of stitch all that together and make it real. Nick, how about over at Pure Storage? What's your focus over the next 10 months?
Thanks, Luke. Our top priorities for the coming year, really threefold. Expanding the scale of data service and accelerating AI and machine learning operations. What we've learned is that the larger your AI efforts become, the more algorithms you have to manage, the lifecycle sustainment of those algorithms becomes critical. And the more people you have working in the environment, the more you need well-developed processes for doing AI and machine learning operations. And containerization is certainly a part of that, but managing the data and managing the connectivity between the algorithms, the development efforts, and the data itself is a significant problem at scale. So the next thing we're looking at is improving the efficiency of artificial intelligence systems themselves, power, space, cooling, sustainability, and performance. So over the course of the next year, we're going to be launching some pretty significant improvements to our data platforms to enable exactly that, the next generation of AI development. I think the proof of the pudding on that one is the recently announced Meta Research Supercluster, Facebook's research platform, focusing primarily on computer vision, natural language processing, and sentiment analysis. But they've gone all flash, and they've obviously deployed a considerable number of NVIDIA's DGX systems, as well as Pure Storage underneath, to drive down the cost of the data by improving the data center economics, but also significantly improving the velocity of the platforms. The last thing that we're going to focus on, of course, is improving the automation of the data management to facilitate the improvements in AI and machine learning operations that I was talking about.
A lot of horsepower you're talking about there between NVIDIA and Pure Storage sort of coupling together. So super impressive. And thank you very much for that. Gil, how about over at VA? I know you got a lot of things going on over there. Gil sends me a note, 374,000 employees at VA, a lot of moving parts there. What are your top priorities?
Yes, and then we're serving over 9 million veterans that are actively in the system. And so there's a lot of
which is just incredible when you think about that, right? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, a lot of potential in terms of developing, as we were talking about before, the workforce, developing solutions for the veterans. So in terms of priorities, we're now working on that AI implementation of the roadmap for that AI strategy to really link together the work that we've been doing at the VA and the national AI strategy, and working together with the VA data strategy, right? So all of those aspects to make sure that we can move forward efficiently and working across offices to help facilitate that trustworthy AI. We're also working on developing an inventory of the different use cases and supporting some of the new work around the data governance console to ensure that there's work and AI use cases in support of the common operating picture platform as well. Now, the VA AI strategy has these four strategy execution priorities, which are to build a robust community and network around AI at the VA. Number two, to prioritize and invest in AI research. The third is to reduce barriers in translating AI advances into real-world capabilities. And the fourth is about adopting an AI maturity model that's tailored to the VA's mission and needs. So those are some of the things that we're working on, and yeah, eager to hear what others are working on and seeing if there's some common themes as well.
Yeah, it really seems that just to continue to sort of mature and up the value chain, if you will, in regards to this very powerful capability. All right, we're going to take another short break and we're going to be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.